Hello, and thank you for watching Tomorrow's America. My name is William Donahue. Richard will be joining me shortly, but today's show is going to be a good one. We're going to talk about basically where the country is going and where we'd like to steer the country to go. And we're also going to talk about news and different things that are going on. This is going to be less of a getting the news out kind of show and more of a podcast type of conversation between me and Richard. Before we get into all that, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. It's a good way to help us to get up in the algorithm and get this information out there. So the first thing I'm going to do while we're waiting for Rich to connect is I'm going to play a clip from 2 shows ago. I think it was episode 29, if I'm not mistaken. And it's basically me explaining what some of my ideas for a platform in 2028 are. And it's just something I wrote up real quick. Me and Rich are going to get into more of, the little details of things that we think would be the platform for 2028 or for any future politicians going forward. So I'm gonna add that into the stream. It looks like Richard's here, but I'm gonna play this clip real quick for you. Should be. There we go. This is what I think are important things that people should be pushing and advocating for. We need to address the world government. We need to address it and say that it exists and point out both sides and say that we're at a global conflict of hemispheres, which we sort of have to a certain extent. But 5 years ago, to say that you were a conspiracy theorist and it wasn't true. Now everyone knows it's true, but we need to address that. Whoever's power needs to say this is a problem. We need to potentially, if we need to get out of World War III. We need to repair world relations. For too long, we've been the bully of the world. For too long, we've been, walked on with trade to a certain extent, but imposed harsh sanctions and these different things. We need to repair world relations. We need to get out of an alliance with Israel. Unfortunately, it hasn't worked out for us. We haven't received whatever they say. I don't even want to get into it. But yeah, we need to end relations with Israel. We need to get out of the UN and specifically point out and say we're not gonna let you push us into Agenda 2030. A lot of people might not know what that is. Agenda 2030 is an agenda that the UN put in place. All the member countries are working towards this goal for the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And with those goals is all kinds of PDFs that you could click through in your spare time. Okay, sorry. With those goals, there's a lot of PDFs on the website, and this is right on the UN website. You could click through and read about it and read how they want to limit you to 3 pairs of socks a year and 2 pairs of pants or whatever. There's a bunch of stuff that it says on their thing, but essentially what their goals are, not their stated goals, but what the underlying message is that they want you to have less freedom. They want you to not eat meat or rarely eat meat. Put carbon taxes on your car, on your energy usage, on everything. They want to have 15-minute cities that you can't leave. You could only leave a couple times a year if they approve it. We see it. There's already ones being built around the world. So look up 15-minute cities. They want to install an AI surveillance grid all over the world. They want to create new borders with different zones, and it's very complex, but basically break the world up into 10 sections. Um, we need gold backed currency printed by the Treasury, by the US Treasury, so that the people own the money that we use for our currency, not some banker who can charge us interest and loan us money endlessly until the end of time. We need to have long term goals. And that gold backed currency printed by the Treasury, that's a long term thing you'd have to implement. That couldn't be a short term plan. That'd have to be a long term plan. And it'd have to be the platform for a new political party without the baggage of the Democrats or the Republicans. They'd have to come in with this new political party and bring on these long term ideas and say that if we could keep a steady power in government, we would carry out this agenda for the next 20 years because we're going to need to rebuild. The whole system is coming down.
As you can see, I just got a new background. Finally got rid of the dolphin stuff, moved it around. But yeah, it's looking good. Over here, you have the American flag. Then I got my 3 crosses. This one has a compartment if you slide it up, which is pretty cool. And then this one I got when I was a baby. You can see there's a baby on it. And then I got this one from my cousin Jeremiah when we ended up, Will has one too. When we ended up going and being his best man, he gave us the gifts. So yeah, the new setup's looking pretty good. If I hit shift 3, or I guess it doesn't work because it's taken off. But yeah, it's pretty nice. I think it's a lot better. Oh, here it is. All right, there we go. Check this out. You see, so
there you go.
3, you can see the full thing. Which, I mean, obviously I'm going to add more stuff. Like I want to add this. It's kind of, it's actually a sword from the movie Lord of the Rings, but it's pretty cool. It's something that, like, if I had it here, like, that looks pretty sick if I had it like that. And plus it's, swords are, basically it looks like a cross almost with this, but I don't know, just some stuff that I'm looking forward to. But yeah, what's going on, Will? How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I like the new setup there, Rich.
Yeah, thanks, brother. It's coming in. I moved all of the Dolphins plaques and everything up here, so I mean it looks pretty sick. I'm liking it. I'm liking the studio a little bit more, studio / bedroom. But yeah, now we got both American flags. It's gonna look pretty sick.
Yeah. So I was playing that video while you were logging on, talking about some of my ideas for the 2028 platform, or just for the future of politics in general, because there's going to be a massive shift. We know what just happened. We got the old switcheroo. We believe in everything you believe in. Just kidding, we're neocons.
Yep.
And we know what happened. So going forward, trust is going to be an issue with politicians, and we're going to have to know who to trust. So, Rich, what are some things you'd like to hear your candidate talk about?
Yeah, definitely affordability. That's something that this administration ran on, but we really didn't get it. Instead, he wants to drive housing prices up, which is something that I really don't like as a young person, as an 18-year-old in America. So affordability is going to be a huge one. Number 2, it's going to be foreign relations with Israel. This is something that is bipartisan when it comes to not Congress, but the citizens. The far left and the far right all dislike Israel. Like, there is a massive shift happening. And the main group that still supports Israel is the boomer generation. So when you have the boomer generation who is, and even in the boomer generation, they're still getting killed in support. They're down to almost 50%, which is the lowest they've ever had. With youth, they're down to like 13% support. So you can already tell a pro Israel candidate will not win in the 2028 election. I almost think that, and I don't want Tucker Carlson to run, he would kill Gavin Newsom just off of the fact that Gavin Newsom is taking APAC money and Tucker Carlson's just going to be in the debate, questioning everything he says. I think he would literally win with Reagan numbers. So I think another thing would be the anti-Israel agenda, not necessarily saying we have to be enemies with Israel. It's just we're not going to fight wars for them, and we're not going to send them military aid, which I think is fine for an ally. I mean, that's what allies are. It's we're not a puppet state of them. We don't have to fight all of their wars. But I think that is two things that definitely will be something that I would like to hear. Another one would be a crackdown on immigration. I think that's the big one for me is deportations. And this administration has not given it to us. I would rather focus, and when I say deportations, obviously there's radical views and there's such a wide scale group of views that people have. Honestly, I would be happy with just deporting the people that came here under Biden. If we could get rid of the 10 million people that came here under Biden, I'm fine with that, because all the other illegal immigrants we can deport when they make a single crime. If you commit a single crime, you can get deported. But if you're here in the last 5 years and you just came over and you're just gonna think that you're gonna get mass amnesty, I don't think so. I would rather get rid of all of those people, because I mean, we don't know who they are. Why do they get due process on leaving when they didn't get due process on coming in? So there's stuff like that. I also would love to see a new quota for immigration. Under President Trump, we're having like a net negative, like a net loss in people coming in versus people coming out, which is, that's good. But if we can get immigration under control and deport all of the people that came here under Biden, I would love to see a maybe 92,000, 108,000 person quota that the government has to hit per year. And you're getting background checks on these people. These people have to take the test. They have to go to Ellis Island, or maybe not even Ellis Island, maybe something else, maybe something new. But it has to be something like that. We need to have controlled immigration in waves. And who knows, if we're in war, God forbid, if we're in war, shut down the immigration, shut down the quota. And you could shut down that quota and just completely cancel it and say, all right, no one's coming in. Another thing I would like also, which, this probably won't end up happening, is it's $18 billion to build the entire wall on the southern border. I would love to do that. But, that's something that I think is past the time of where we needed it. So, just more border enforcement in cities. I think another one would be National Guard in cities that would but significantly decrease crime rate. That's another thing. I think having the National Guard in DC, it proved when you have the National Guard in cities, crime is almost non-existent. They went from 3 murders a week to 1 murder every month. Like, it's a huge shift.
Those are all some pretty good ideas, and so a lot of overlap between what you said and my video that I played at the beginning. Some of the things were pretty high up on my list that were on yours. The video itself, if you want to go back and watch the whole thing, you could hear all my stances I took. But I guess I agree with a lot of what you said. The National Guard thing, I don't know, because that always has the potential to be abused.
Law. Yeah.
Yeah. So they have more power and they have a different range of things than the police. I'd like to see. So here's the thing. If I was like a purist, right, you'd want everything. You'd go way back, but obviously you got to pick your battles and choose your hill to die on. I think that COVID tyranny is a hill to die on, and that the 2020 election was stolen. And I'd like to see accountability for some of those things. That, is a given. Whether we'll see it or not, I don't know. I'd like to see accountability for things that the Trump administration is doing too, because these politicians going into the future are going to have to meet a certain standard, and we want equally applied standard across the board. Right now, Trump has carried out a war that's not approved by Congress. Now he wants $200 billion to fund the war going forward. Pete Hegseth just asked for $200 billion. So, you were saying that you would build the wall out the rest of the way, and probably the time for that has passed. Yeah. We know that Trump shut down immigration with the swipe of a pen, and the border was closed. So the need for the wall is maybe not necessary, but Pete Hegseth wants $200 billion for us to go fight in Iran, whose missile capabilities can't even hit the continental United States. So maybe we could build a wall, maybe, but getting these things out and talked about is our goal here. So where do you want to go, Rich?
Well, I just want to piggyback off of what you said. The thing that I said about the wall, it's literally less than 10% of what Hegseth is asking for. So, it's super achievable. It's something that we can do. We're just not doing it. We're not using our funds properly. You said something about the National Guard, which I agree. I like small government. I really do. But the problem that I have is these cities are overran by crime. We have a huge crime problem in the United States. And I think when you look at cities compared to rural areas, gun violence is a massive problem. If you get rid of the top 5 cities in the United States with gun violence, we go from one of the worst in gun violence to one of the best. So it's uncomparable with the amount of violence that we have. That's why I think National Guard would help, just because of what we've seen in DC. I don't like big government. I am very against big government, actually. But this is going back to what I said a couple months ago about authoritarianism. I'm slightly leaning authoritarian at the moment. I am a libertarian 100%, but slightly we need an authoritarian to get this country back on track that can get us in where we need to be. That's just my own personal belief. Another thing I agree with is accountability for 2020, COVID, the Russia hoax, if that's a real thing at all. I mean, we need accountability for this stuff. You already see the Democrats, if they get into 28, everyone from this administration is going to be arrested. There's no doubt about it. They're going to do it. For some reason, we refuse to do it. We refuse to put Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama in jail, but they don't have a problem. They already put Trump in jail. They already put 15 other people in jail. They don't have a problem with doing that. They really don't. So when you look and we're not doing anything, and we're not doing anything about the Epstein files, and we're not doing anything about COVID, they're going to do stuff, and they're going to completely shut down everything they don't agree with. Everything that we did that they don't agree with, they're putting us in jail for. They are going to find a crime for anyone in this administration. So we definitely need to hold people accountable 100%.
All right, so I think this is a good opportunity, because we said that we're trying to have this conversation about the future of the country. So I think this is a good opportunity to slightly debate ideas. So you said, you're kind of leaning towards maybe having the National Guard. I'm just going to offer up a counter position. Tim Walz, these states, it's the United States of America. The states agreed to give over a certain amount of power to the federal government. It's a good system, and the states have a lot of power, but the federal government has a lot of power, and balancing that is, important. So you can't have a state that is a runaway state doing God knows what and bringing the whole country down. It's a whole thing. But my point is that Tim Walz should be in jail. That's one way to bring the crime down. And, like Tim Walz, they say, oh, well, crime went down in Minnesota. Blocking the roads. If you have 100 people blocking the roads, that should be 100 crimes added to your statistic. Just because you don't record them doesn't mean anything. Bring Tim Walz in, put him in jail, hold governors and politicians accountable. Another thing is the district attorneys. So, and I know that you know this and whatever, but if we get rid of all these district attorneys that continuously let people out of jail, you'll have somebody go into jail for a violent act, then get out of jail with no bail, and the next day they go back and they kill the guy. You know what I mean? So you could avoid that statistic being added right there by just having district attorneys that are sensible and want to hold people accountable. A little deterrence from crime with consequences against you, I feel like would go a longer way than police presence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know that you feel that way too, but the National Guard did work in DC, and I don't know.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's something to worry about when you say like they do have more power than the police. They can do a lot more and they can be corrupt. But I worry about like cities like Detroit, cities like Chicago, Rochester, LA, San Francisco. These big cities have a lot of crime. They like especially in San Francisco when it comes to the homeless population. There's a lot of violent crime. Rochester even has a ton of violent crime. So there's a lot of gun violence and stuff like that I think can be deterred with the National Guard. On the contrary, I think if we improved the way that our law system worked and we made sentences a lot longer, I like for premeditated stuff, I think if our sentences were longer, that would also limit crime. And the way that I was counteracted this by my teacher is he actually said, if someone comes in and you see him banging your wife, are you gonna like, what are you gonna do? And I was like, yeah, I'd probably freak out and like go, like, I don't even know. I'd go crazy. And he was like, yeah, exactly. So do you think that the law system should still charge you as long as it would be? And I said, well, to counteract what he said, I think that premeditated things and sexual violence and stuff like that, these heinous acts against humanity, should be huge sentences. If it's non-premeditated, and it has to be like per case, like not every case is the same. It really isn't. So
part of our part of our justice system. I just want to add some to what you're saying. That's part of our justice system that we got away from. The judges will tell a jury, hey, this is the guy, this is what we're doing, you got to make a decision if you think he's innocent or guilty. Well, there's another aspect of the jury trial system that says, this girl was down in a basement, being kidnapped by somebody. Her only escape method was to stab the guy in the back or whatever the case may be. And so she did premeditate, she did whatever, but to get out of the situation, she had to do something. They could take somebody who's guilty and say, yeah, but we feel for them, and declare them innocent based on those grounds. So just being genuine as a society also, and taking some ownership of your participation in the society. also goes a long way with that too.
Yeah, also going back to our Christian values, having Christian values as a country is not saying everyone in the country has to be Christian. We have the freedom of religion, which is a Christian value. I think everyone should have the choice to choose what religion they want, depending on if you're a Protestant, an evangelical, a Catholic, a Muslim, a Jew. You could be an atheist, a Hindu, a Buddhist. It doesn't matter. You can follow Taoism. I don't really care. It's the same thing as like the government not being involved in stuff that goes on in your house, like with a small government idea. But we have the freedom of religion, which is a Christian value. It's not Sharia law. Like if you don't follow Sharia law, you're going to get your head cut off. We need to go back to our Christian values. And as a society, if we were back into the Christian values that we had, I mean, say 80, 100 years ago, I mean, look at where the crime rate has spiked since we've taken the Bible out of schools, since we've taken out the 10 Commandments out of schools. Everything has gone downhill. I think it's not, and it's also not a bad lesson, even if you are an atheist, to know the 10 Commandments, to know like what you don't believe in necessarily. I think it's still great to know God. Like you need to know God because he's the truth, he's the life, he's life, he's the way to get to heaven. And you know, it's your prerogative to choose if you want to follow him or not. Now, that's why he gave us free will. He died on the cross to forgive us of our sins, but you know, it's something that we need to install in the young generation, and not this idea that you can change your gender and stuff like that. I think that's outrageous. This new woke culture that has really come alive since, I mean, honestly, 2012 under Obama. This entire woke culture that has just progressed to not even like common sense anymore. It's just outrageous. Like,
so Rich, yeah, I agree with you. Let's just say if God doesn't exist and you ask God to show you what you need to do, you don't lose anything in that situation. You just, nothing happens. For me,
yeah,
in my experience, if God does exist and you ask him to show you and he opens your eyes to a new way and a new life, and teaches, you know, and gives you a mission, and you join the body of Christ and everything that goes along with that, then you stand to gain. So it's 100% gain opportunity to ask God for help. Now, in the interest of time, I want to pivot slightly. Where was I going?
could be 2028, maybe something like that.
No, I wanted to talk about I don't even know. I wanted to talk about Agenda 20. I wanted to talk about AI surveillance. That's
Yes.
kind of what I wanted to. So getting into Agenda 2030, globalism, all that stuff's kind of dying off, but we are keeping parts of it and implementing it. So for Agenda 2030, AI surveillance was a big deal, and Trump is partnering up with all these people. It's almost, and they said Trump's a fascist. He never acted very fascist until he got involved with Palantir and all these companies. That's almost like technocratic fascism, global corporate controlled, that type of thing. So, what would you want to hear from a candidate about that?
Yeah, well, I think a perfect example would be James Fishback. He's running for governor of Florida. He has gone on record and said that the $375 million that Florida itself donates yearly to Israel, he will take that away from them and he will give it to the next generation with down payment grants and stuff like that. That's a great thing. You know, I don't think the state of Florida should be donating money to another country. Another thing, to go back to what you were saying, that he said that he was going to get rid of this massive Palantir facility that they are trying to make in Florida, this AI data center. And he said Florida is for Floridians, and Florida does not need Palantir. Obviously, JD Vance's background with Palantir. Palantir's CEO, Peter Thiel, is his mentor. So you see that he is mentor to JD Vance. That's why I am a part of the Never Vance campaign. I refuse to have a surveillance state in the United States. We have the freedom to do whatever we want. You look at the amendments that we have. Look at China. They have a social credit score. If you jaywalk in China, your social credit score will go down because they have your facial surveillance on the cameras. Your social credit score will go down. And if it gets so low, I don't know the exact numbers, but if it gets below a certain threshold, then you cannot buy a house. You cannot buy groceries. You cannot do stuff like that you need to do to survive. It's terrible. It's a surveillance state. And that's something that we refuse to have in America. That's why, sadly, Trump is a part of this whole fiasco, but JD Vance can never get in. People that are puppets of Palantir can never get in. And I think it's ironic that I say 2028 is probably the most important election of our lifetimes, because we hear it all the time, and I always make fun of that. But it actually is, because it's going to be a turning point for the future of the country. Trump has led us down the path he's pissed off the liberals so bad that if they get in power, they're going to go crazy. They are going to lock everyone up who has said stuff in during this time period of free speech that they don't like. They're going to open the borders, and the United States will be done. I honestly think that we will be cooked if they get in. On the contrary, if a MAGA successor gets in, I think the country is going to be done. Just like the liberals getting in, I think we would be over if another person from the MAGA, because it's not MAGA anymore, if another person from the MAGA team gets in, like Rubio, neocon, JD Vance, not neocon, but he's a puppet to Palantir. And, I just can't support Peter Thiel or anything they're doing. They're doing great stuff militarily. Stay out of the continental United States. We don't need you guys to be doing the same things you're doing in Iran, in New York or Florida. We don't need that.
Can I cut in on?
Yeah,
can I cut in on what you were going to say? Because I want to say, they're using Palantir to identify insurgents and whatever in Iran, and we know that misfired. They hit a children's school. Not officially, the U.S. didn't admit to it yet, but and they're using it at the border to tell who's an illegal immigrant and whatever. And maybe you can trust Trump. Let's say you can trust Trump and he implements Palantir and all this stuff. Okay, I don't think you can, but you install this system that has complete surveillance, total surveillance, and then you give it to the next person that comes in power. Who's to say what they're going to do with that power and what they're going to do with that? And I want to play this clip real quick just because we're talking about AI and all the surveillance and all that stuff. This clip right here, this was during COVID, and I think it's in Chinese, but we'll just play it. So this drone that you're seeing was literally flying around. Now the government implemented COVID lockdowns. All these apartment buildings are full of people that are starving, can't go out to wash their clothes, can't go out to do anything. And they're all starving. They're all, whatever. And the drone itself, it's in Chinese, so you can't understand it, but it's saying, "Stay in your house. We are watching. You cannot leave. You'll die from COVID." The thing is literally flying around watching people, making sure no one leaves their house. Did you know that people jumped to their death out of those buildings?
That's ridiculous. That's terrible.
So we got to pay attention to AI. We got to pay attention to this. I mean, it seems like such a background thing until all of a sudden you're driving, and your tickets show up at your door for littering or spitting on the sidewalk or whatever crimes that they want to make up. If they plug it into an AI, the AI doesn't care that you were really nice or that you said, "Oh, yeah, sorry, officer." The AI doesn't care. It sees a big red screen like the Terminator and it says violation, and it flies over and identifies you and writes you a ticket. So, I mean, you shouldn't be breaking the law, but on average people commit 3 to 5 felonies a day, I think. And they don't even know it. We don't even know what the laws are. There's so many laws, we don't know what they are.
Yeah, no, not good. And you think maybe AI can't do this? Well, look at the company LifeTouch. Is the company that takes all of our school photos for so many years. They
connected with Epstein.
Yeah, they have been in the Epstein files. So they are connected with Jeffrey Epstein. The LifeTouch company has you from 4 years old all the way up to 18 years old, how you've progressed, what your facial structure looks like. If you think that alone isn't enough information, then what about this thing right here? Facial identification. They've had our facial identification and our thumbprint since, gosh, I don't know, 2012 maybe, the thumbprint. Then they got rid of that. Then they said, okay, now we're going to do facial ID. All you have to do is look at your phone and it opens. That's super scary.
It's so much more convenient now to tap your credit card than it is to swipe it through a thing. It's so much more convenient to open your phone with your face instead of whatever. And it's just building up this system to create a cyber society that we're going into.
Yeah.
So there's that. What else, Rich? What's a pressing point? You love to say that people should be paid for having kids. So let's hear that, because I love when you talk about that.
Yeah. I think this is a great thing. Currently in almost all Western nations, and by Western nations, even in Asia, so Korea and Japan, all Western nations, you see this problem that their birth rates are just absolutely terrible. They're not at replacement level. So let's just do the math. I'm a guy. I have to get with a girl to have a baby. You need to have 2 babies to replace you 2. So if you don't have an average of at least 2.0 per family, per person, 2.0, then that is not replacement level. Almost every Western nation is not at replacement level. Then when you go to third world nations, almost all of them are like 4 to 8 children per family. So you're seeing a massive shift. And I think this is done on purpose. I think this is being done on purpose. This agenda they're pushing, that, and it's true. The love is love agenda. They're pushing us to just get farther and farther away from having kids. If you, as the government, look and you're like, okay, well, we're not having enough kids. We need to import people to continue running the society. Those people don't have the same Western values, number one. And number two, they are not aligned with the United States. They have dual loyalties. And honestly, not even dual loyalties. They have loyalties to a different nation. So you need to stop the immigration. The immigration is, I've heard this argument a lot. It's because people aren't having kids. If you paid people to have kids with grants, or if you said no income tax for families together with 4 kids or 3 kids, number one, divorce rates would tank. Divorce rates would be completely tanked. You would have from, I think, 50% of marriages get divorced. if there was a incentive to stay together, it mends families together. Usually kids will keep families together by itself. Also, if you're not paying income tax on or even one income on say the man or the woman, depending on how the family is running with one income, and the other person doesn't have to work, but then you have no income tax. That means no state or federal income tax. And that alone, if you're just paying the whatever social security number that you're paying, because obviously we need social security to run the country, which that's going to need a reform, you get so many cash incentives. You're getting more kids in the country, and then those kids will have more kids. And it's a constant cycle. If we just stop sending money to Israel, but also other foreign nations like Ukraine and like Afghanistan, if we stopped giving all foreign aid, even to allies like Ukraine, I get they needed it for the war, but it's not a direct factor to us. It's more Europe than anything, so they should have been the ones that did it. But if we stopped giving money foreignly and just gave, say, $1,000 in baby grants per kid up to 4 kids on not money, but all of the stuff they need. So a crib, a stroller, maybe formula, maybe baby clothes, $1,000, just an extra $1,000. That would help so much. Originally, I thought it should have been a cash incentive, but I've heard from other people, yeah, but people would just have babies to get the $1,000, which I think is outrageous to say, but I think it's a valid point, I guess. It's outrageous to say you're going to spend $300,000 to get 1,000. I think the math isn't there for that. But if you even put it into baby incentives, you put $10,000 for families under 30 trying to buy a new house like James Fishback is trying to do. That's another incentive to help the younger generation. We need to stop taking from the future generations for now and start sacrificing now for the future generations. And then as soon as the future generations is the now, and my generation's 40, 50, then we're already going to be in a cycle where we're constantly giving to the future. And that's how a nation is prosperous. That's how a nation continues. We're witnessing the fall of Rome right now. The fall of Rome is when they import people that don't have Roman values, and the birth rates decline like they do right now in America, and we're importing people that don't have our values. The fall of Rome dispersed, and there was no more Rome. Then it was Constantinople was in Eastern Rome, and Western Rome fell. And then after Eastern Rome fell, then the Ottomans claimed to be Roman. So you're witnessing the fall of Rome as we speak, and it's recoverable, but we need to act now.
We've had massive, massive problems. And the problem is that everyone wants instant gratification. Oh, well, these people are, these people are low income. Oh, well, give them money, just give them money. We've had this give them money mentality in this country for 100 years, and corresponding with that, we've seen, and by give them money, I mean socialism, socialist policies. That's another stance. Get rid of the socialist policies. We've had a rise in socialist policies like giving money for welfare, different things that might supplement people, and it does help people, but it doesn't help people like the same way it doesn't help your drug addicted cousin if you give him $20. He might think that you helped him, but you didn't help him. The same thing going on with our social programs, corresponding with the rise in social programs and giving away money. We've seen a rise in crime. We've seen a rise in poverty. We've seen just
in abortion.
There's a rise in abortion, a rise in fraud, and it all goes hand in hand. So doing away with that big thing, and then when you do away with all that, and you give people business loans, you supplement the next generation, like what you were talking about. Then what happens is you've invested instead of instant gratification, you've invested, and then 10, 20 years down the road, you have successful entrepreneurs, good families, values reinstilled in the country. You know, and it just makes for a better nation. Like in Japan, you could leave your bike against a telephone pole and go in somewhere for hours and hours and come back out and get on your bike and ride away because they have an honor-based society. They don't want to dishonor themselves by stealing from somebody. We don't have the honor because we don't have, you know, nobody has, well, some people might, but a big family tree that goes all the way back from, you know, the Mayflower, and you could see your whole family tree and you love your history. And you know, families nowadays are almost so you know, busy and have so much going on that you really are lucky to have family gatherings and things like that. Over there, they have villages. They have like their family is like their community, you know.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
have that community.
Yeah.
Actually, instead of having community, we incentivize kids to go off on their own and make their own way instead of building generational wealth and creating families, you know, real capitalism.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've seen the fall of the family society since, the 1960s, stuff around that time. It used to be incentivized that, traditional values, the man would work, the woman would take care of the kids would help in the house, and the family would stay close together. And you would constantly see your family, and it was a united front against everything. Now you see families breaking apart, divorce, which not having a father figure or a mother figure in your household is a massive problem in itself, which we can get into another time. But not having a father figure or not having a mother, you really do need both of those figures in your life, and you need a sense of togetherness to build, morals, correct morals. You can, and that's not me generalizing. You can have good morals and not come from that. I mean, I've seen so many people that have came from that. It's so hard on a child when you have to deal with so much, just stuff weighing on you. It's not good. It's not good for a 5-year-old that has to deal with that. You know what I mean? Like it's a terrible
And
thing.
and you know what else adds to that is just, you know, having everybody has to work, everyone gets taxed so much,
Yeah.
you can't afford anything. Then next thing you know, this is kind of from my experience, but I mean, imagine eating dinner by yourself every day. You
I know.
know, the wife's at work, you're home alone,
Mhm.
and you got to eat dinner by yourself. Even that, even the mental toll from that, you don't realize it or whatever. But back when I was a kid, my dad said, "Hey, this is the house rule: be home at 5, be here for dinner, check in, and then go back out and hang out with your friends, and then come home by 9 or whatever." But we had family dinner every day.
Yeah.
That was huge. That's a huge part of, you know, being together as a family.
Yeah, no, for sure. And even from like when I was like 5 years old till now, like there has been such a massive shift in how like even our family has worked. Where like I remember the family dinners, everyone always got together, we ate dinner together, and then even like dude, like 2015, we weren't doing that. And like it's like a rare thing when you eat dinner together as a family, and I think that's just a testament to how the world's evolved, how families systems have evolved, and how things have changed. But I do believe in the traditional aspect of eating together. I think talking during, I mean, not to be honest. I love to just pound my food and eat it as fast as possible. But eating and talking while you eat, just getting together, checking in, that builds families and strengthens families for sure. So yeah, we need to go back to family values, which again, where is it? Again, I'd say that is a Christian value is family. You're with your family. And our teacher had us rank them. It was family, religion, friends, education, money, stuff like that. And I think this is exactly how it should be. I put religion one, God matters over everything, family two, and then and that way your own health was in there. I put religion, family, your health. Then I put friends, but even that, like when you're grown, money comes over friends, but friends, money, education, education and money is like technically the same thing. Cause for example, if you go to a trade school, that's an education, but you need that for money. But it's stuff like that. But yeah, religion one, family two, those are the things that matter the most. But I feel like we're going away from that in society. And as that happens, you notice, just more crime, less godly activities. And that's just, something that is absolutely atrocious. 20 million abortions since 2000. Like that's terrible. That 20 million people could have literally saved the world or had like inventions or been the best NFL player ever, or like there's like so many different possibilities for those kids that just won't see the light of day.
Since when?
2000, but even that seems
okay.
Low. Like I'm gonna put in ChatGPT as we talk.
20 million people. That's 20 million people that could have been, and this is the left's argument for immigration. These people could have been doctors or rocket scientists or cured cancer. 20 million naturalized Americans that were killed, and then we imported 20 million people in the Biden administration, and they say, well, we need them for picking fruits, and who's going to clean my bathroom, which is disgusting and racist, in my opinion.
No,
but so racist. So 20 million people since 2000, that would have been 20 million people who could have potentially been working age and would have probably loved to have a job picking fruit instead of getting killed and chopped up in the womb and sucked out with a little sucker tube. You mentioned your list of values. I put this Bible verse on the screen just because you put money towards the bottom of your list, and I thought that was a good thing. So, he that loveth silver shall not be satisfied with silver, nor he that loveth abundance with increase, nor he that loveth abundance. With increase, this is also vanity. If you love money and you just want to have the best car and the best everything, you can't take it with you when you go. Put that towards the bottom of the list. Obviously, being an entrepreneur and coming into money as you live a good life isn't a sinful thing, but being driven by money, and that's another thing that was big on my list of 2028 platforms was breaking up trusts, breaking up monopolies, ending these umbrella companies, corporations. We're going on an hour here, Rich. Do you want to start to wrap it up?
Yeah, we could wrap it up.
I got a little list here of just some things I want to go off on before we do.
Sounds good.
Okay, so the 2028 platform, we're talking about where the world goes. Trump has left MAGA. That's also in the title of our show. Trump has left MAGA. MAGA didn't leave Trump, and Tucker Carlson didn't get kicked out of MAGA. MAGA was always people that wanted to make America great. Trump latched onto those ideas to get power and then hopped off the train and jumped in Ben Shapiro's car to go to the beach or whatever. But MAGA was making America great. So these are what real candidates who want to do something for the American people can do. And then, Rich, after, if you want to just go off and add to this, that would be good.
Yep.
Okay, we need to address the fact that a world government exists and get away from the world government. Get out of World War III, repair relations with other countries like Russia and China, move further away from our relationship with Israel, say no to Agenda 2030, go back to being gold-based currency in a long-term plan. We can't do it right away, but long-term, start investing in this country. We need to have long-term goals like ending welfare state, deporting illegals, rebuilding manufacturing, rebuilding the supply chain, improving the vulnerabilities of our electrical grid, producing oil. We need to end fraud and lower taxes. We need to reform our bureaucracies. We need to hold the criminals in government accountable, shut down arrests of petty criminals and little thieves, start going after the big thieves, the robber barons in our government. Those are the people. What's more important, $100,000 white collar crime or 19 billion in fraud in the state of Minnesota? Probably more than that. We need to hold drug companies accountable, improve food quality, get the chemicals out of the food, the water, and the air. Stop with the PACs and the lobbies and the special interests, and start dealing with the special interests of the American people. Stop voting for politicians that are taking people's money to say what they want. We need to gut the CIA and the FBI. We need safer elections. We need to end the monopolies and the umbrella corporations, and we need to pay people to have kids and deport the illegal immigrants.
Oh yeah, it's great. I think that's a huge thing. As we move towards a tripolar world, in a way, realistically, I don't think Russia's on the same level as China or the United States, especially with their death rate to birth rate. They're gonna really have a problem with that. But as we move closer and closer to a tripolar world, I think we need to improve relations with China. I think we need to improve relations with the Eastern nations. We need to apologize on the world stage and say, I'm sorry we need a leader, a strong leader, to apologize and say, I'm sorry for the things that we've wronged you, and I forgive you for the things that you've wronged us. I want to start new and have good relations with everyone. We don't want to play this world police force anymore. I'm sick of that. We have 700 bases abroad, and we're everywhere because we want to be neoconservatives, and we want to make sure that we are the only superpower. We will always be the number one superpower with the way that our economy works, but not anymore if we continue down this path of just neoconservative wars for Israel.
And just geographically, we'll always be a superpower.
Trade routes. Of course. Trade routes, the Western expansion of how big we are, Alaska. We don't need anyone else's oil. We need to start refining oil in Alaska. The people are always like, not in my backyard. I don't want oil refineries and nuclear energy facilities in my backyard. Put them in Alaska. Alaska has 3 electoral college votes, and it's literally the biggest state we have. I mean, we need to stop all these economic regulations and get rid of all this stupid crap that Europe is trying to push us to do. Lead by example. We need to lead by example for Europe. We need to show them what a Western nation should look like, and then eventually they will come to us, like you're seeing with Austria and Italy, and Poland is a great example of a European nation that is strong with their moral beliefs and values. Ally up with Russia, help them, sign trade deals with them, help China, and not ally with them, but have good relations with them. They're the number one exporter due to us deindustrializing. We're the number one importer. We both need each other. Why don't we have good relations and help each other out, and not just start this huge conflict that's going to end up with them taking Taiwan, us starting a war with them, Russia on the other side attacking Europe, and then we have an East versus West World War III. which is going to create a one world government or a nuclear war, which either way is terrible. We got to completely avoid that. And it's stuff that like we need to just stop with the neoconservatism. And it's not coincidence that the country that we're allied with is hated by almost half the world, and it's the number one hated country by almost half the world. And we need to put them in their place, because if we can't put them in their place, then who will? Because if we can't put them in their place, that just means that they control us, which is even worse. That means that we're a proxy state. The land of the free needs an American Revolution from Israel, which is the craziest thing that you've ever heard. Like, this is a country that was created in 1948 that is the same size as one of the smallest states in our country, and they have this amount of global influence, this amount of influence. They need to be registered under FARA, the Foreign Agents Act. They need to be completely shifted. Dual citizenship shouldn't be allowed in Congress. Like, it's simple stuff like that. And as we just hit an hour, we'll close up there. Are you got anything else?
No, I like what you were saying. I've worked jobs where you are selling products and things like that, and you on contracts to either buy or sell different products depending on what you're trying to do. You have to literally check a box that says, I promise that I'm not working with Iran or doing any business with Iran. And this was 2 years ago, last that I was in that industry, but now I'm doing physical labor again. But 2 years ago there was literal trade things that you couldn't trade with Iran. But then if a company says we're boycotting Israel, they get the book laid down on them. There's laws on the books that say that you are not allowed to boycott Israel. And I don't know. Our position for a long time has put harsh restrictions on the Middle East. If I was a strategic war planner, I would pull back. I would put bases in Israel. I'd put bases along the coast of Europe, not the coast, but the side of Europe where our NATO allies are. And I would stop right there. We don't need to have, Qatar and Saudi Arabia and all these countries. I guess, somebody has to be in their influence, but we could have good influence with them, good relations with Iran, and do things in a way that we don't have to, try and be like slick back hair, cigarette, like the cool guy that's going to beat you up if you touch my woman or whatever. Israel's not our wife. We're not married to them. They don't provide us anything. If anything, what they provide us is crappy intelligence and infiltration of our government. Realistically, they export spies. That's what they export.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, for sure.
I'm being
Israel
being a little
not good, man. Israel as an ally is not a good ally. They are using us a lot. They're using us bad, and we're literally going to lose the country because of it. Like, they say death to America, death to Israel, and then they burn a statue of the demonic symbol bull, and it's Trump and Bibi on it, and our flags on it, and then Israel says it's a declaration of war. Like, at church they said pray for Iran, pray for Ukraine, pray for Israel, and especially the Jews. And when I heard that originally, I was like, huh, like that's interesting for our pastor to say. And then I thought more into it, and I said, yeah, we actually should be praying, especially for the Jews. Like they are God's chosen people. They were the chosen people of God. And then as the Gentiles came in, and now if you follow Jesus Christ and you're a Gentile and you follow the Christianity religion, you are saved. We should be praying for them to come to Christ and praying for them specifically to they are the people that were chosen by God. Israel, It's in the book. It says those who bless Israel should be blessed, but that doesn't mean the nation created in 1948. There are a ton of Jewish people, Orthodox Jews, who boycott Israel. Israel is not the Israel in the Bible. So that's just something that people need to remember. When it says bless Israel, it's not talking about Benjamin Netanyahu's war regime. It's talking about the ancient Israelites. But that's just something that people, especially people that I've talked to, don't really agree with. They don't agree. They think that Israel is Israel, and if there's a country named Israel, then that's Israel from the Bible. Nah, yep. I don't subscribe to that.
We are the branch that was grafted onto the olive tree. Gentiles and Israel alike are now part of this, or Jewish people are now part of the same tree. And that's the way that the Bible explains it. I think I just cut out.
Yeah, it looks like. Oh, there you're back.
Yeah, so we got grafted onto that tree, and we are included in the new covenant. The new covenant, let's just say you're an NFL player, and they say, all right, it's time to sign the contract, if you want to keep playing for the NFL, and they lay down the contract, and you say, I don't want to sign it. Then you are no longer an employee of the NFL. Yep. You didn't sign the contract. The new covenant is a new contract between man and God that we can follow and participate in and be accepted into the kingdom of heaven, into God's good graces. But otherwise, you don't get to enjoy the benefits of the new covenant or of any covenant, because the newest one is the one you're supposed to follow. I'm trying to simplify it. I'm trying to just simplify it for people because, it's really hard to understand the way that the Bible, if you haven't read the whole thing or most of it, it's hard to understand. So,
yeah.
That being said,
it's a great way to end the show. I think we had a great conversation, a lot of information out there of how you guys understand where we're coming from. If you agree with us that America should come first for American citizens and Christ is King, then you should subscribe to us, because we have very similar beliefs just based off of those two things. So make sure to like this video if you watched it all the way through. Comment, let us know if you agreed or disagreed with us, and subscribe, because it helps us out a lot. So like, comment, subscribe, and I think Will's gonna end up playing a song of his.
I am gonna play a song, but I just wanted to say before we go here, take this, Ted Cruz, take this and believe whatever you want, but Christ is King, and that is what our country was built on, the values of Christianity. And I just wanted to say specifically a shout out to Ted Cruz. You're wrong. Christ is King.
Christ is King. Let's go. And here it is. Oh, shoot. All right, there we go.
After common sense by Thomas Paine, we're at a point where everything is insane. First things first, let's cut to the chase. Common sense ain't common, and that's a mistake. Phase, you're either left wing, that's what they say. Reality, the Overton window is all out of place. To get back on track, we gotta get some things straight. Most importantly, being in power is a privilege. How long would you let someone who's incompetent be in charge of the village? Being anti-war should be an automatic principle. The best wars are ones we never got into. Thank God for the Bill of Rights, it's astounding. But little by little, governments find a way around it. By fear they strip away our rights. There's a new crisis every day and no end in sight. Governments should work for their own people. You think it's a given? I hate to break it to you, that's not the world we live in. Everyone has the right to defend themselves. I'm not a terrorist, you're punishing me for somebody else. Speaking of terrorists, we gotta have a border. They're attacking our cities and creating disorder. A lot of things are crimes without a victim. There's overreaching government, and this is a symptom. On the contrary, there's a whole bunch of victims with no justice. It's a backward system. Everyone deserves representation. Everyone is equal. The government should be transparent. Everything should be see-through. I don't care how they phrase it, I'm just gonna say it. They spy on us in our homes and on all of our phones. We just wanna be left alone. The issues aren't in the government's purview. Let people handle what we gotta work through. The free exchange of ideas can get us out of predicaments. Most people don't agree with somebody's ignorance. Accountability is a definite must. No one ever gets arrested and it's breaking our trust. Taxes should always be considered a plan B. The system shouldn't rely on taking from me. People pay weekly, but there's barely a benefit. It feels like we get nothing at the end of it. Our economy, we could do a lot with it. But no matter what, there's never any profit. There should be systems in place to protect our health. System in place adds to drug companies' wealth. Everything else is just an aside. We need to come together and be unified. This is common sense, these are obvious choices. All rational people need to use their voices.
Okay, guys, thank you for watching. I hope everyone enjoyed the show. Have a great night. Please like and share, subscribe, leave a comment. And Christ is King. God bless America.